Introduce our next speaker, fellow Baltic, Ruben.
Okay, so my story is a little bit different, but hopefully it will be helpful in some way for all of you. So let me tell you, so when I was a little kid, I loved maps. And yes, I was that annoying 5-year-old kid who knows the capital of every single world in every country in the world. And my family loved to show me off. So my family friends will arrive, they will have this globe, they will spin the globe, and point to a country, and little Ruben will come. And so I had real talent back then. And my love for the world and maps kept growing, but for different reasons. As I grew up, I started to think about the idea of living outside of Mexico. Not because of economic or social or political reasons, but because I started to feel that I didn't belong. At the beginning, I really thought that it was because I didn't like soccer, and I didn't like avocado. Don't judge me, please. But then I started to understand things that I didn't understand back then. Some of my early memories when I was a child, there are about people telling me, walk like a man, behave like a man, speak like a man. I didn't really understand what that meant when I was 5 or when I was 8. But it was when I was 13 that things started to make sense. And I was very afraid. I didn't choose to be gay. Back then I didn't want to be. I was by myself. I didn't have a support network. I think that experts call it household discrimination, in the sense that for other people who get rejected or discriminated, usually the household is a heaven. When black parents have their kids, they don't discriminate them because they're black. But same happens with other religious minorities, even people with physical disadvantages. But for gay people, that's not the case. The people that you love the most are the people who have the hardest time to understand you. So I had to find a strategy, an exit strategy. I do remember that my mom told me once that I didn't really understand how lucky I was to be smart. She told me that I had so many talents. I was good with words, with numbers, with art. But I remember that back then I just wanted to exchange those talents to be normal and to be straight. But she also told me that because of these talents I could go anywhere I wanted. And I decided to do it. I'm a really bad short-term planner. People who know me, they know that I do everything last minute. I prepare this speech last minute. I don't know how I'm going to write my essays this week. But I'm a really good long-term planner. So when I was 13 years old, I decided to find a job overseas. So the plan was easy, I had to be the best. So I was the valedictorian of my class, I got scholarships to go to the best high school, the best college that I could, and I found a job in the States. So I moved to Washington, D.C., and I was really happy. I came out, I found an amazing boyfriend, I was myself for the first time. And I do remember one time I was looking at my boyfriend and he was sleeping, and I realized that he knew me, he knew everything about myself, and he still loved me. I never thought that was going to be possible, ever. It was the first time for me, and I was really happy. Not everything was perfect. My job sucked, so I had to find another. I did another plan, big long-term plan, and the plan was to find a fulfilling career. The plan was to work for a company, big name company, go to a very prestigious US university because I wanted to stay here. So I just went through, worked for several years at Microsoft. I realized that I needed to have some time to think about what I wanted. So I applied here, So fast forward to recruiting for summer internship. So now I was getting to my fulfilling career, right? As many of you know, the summer internship is recruiting is kind of brutal. I was rejected by a lot of companies, and it was hard, right? Like I remember a Thursday, got the call from Bain, from the final round saying, thank you very much. Then on Friday morning, it was McKinsey final round, thank you very much. Then in Friday afternoon, I got another call, and this was from Deloitte. But it was a different message. They told me that they had to cancel my final round interview in San Francisco. I didn't understand why, so they told me that it was because my immigration situation was very complicated. So even though for the summer it was fine, for it was going to be very difficult for them to sponsor me to stay in the States. I didn't believe them, so I started talking with their immigration lawyers. I started to talk to MIT immigration lawyers, many lawyers, and I can tell you all the details about my case, but it's mostly just administration and bureaucracy. But it's true, it was going to be very difficult for me to find a full-time job here. And when I understood that, it was hard. It was really hard because that was the dream that I had since I was 13. And I started to feel how the dream was taken away from me, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I was again, like, back when I was 13, just thinking that I need to live. I need to live again. I need to find another exit strategy. Something else that I pride myself about I never know how to pronounce this word, compartmentalize. Yeah. So I don't let one thing to affect other parts of my life. And during that time, I was planning a big conference. I was in a lot of extracurricular activities, so I had to keep going. So the next day, I get a text message from a guy that I was dating, who just told me that he was not really interested in me. Just with a text. I just felt like the Post-it episode from New York's Sex and the City. Okay. So things were not good. So then I decided to ask for help. So I made 1 call, 2 calls, or 7 calls to my friends around here, and no one was available. Though things started to be very difficult because I was alone. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a place to stay for the future. I didn't have a love. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a support network. And things got very difficult. I realized that I had to ask for help. So I did, and I talked to my friends from Seattle, my friends from DC, and they encouraged me to keep asking for help. Not a lot of people know about this, but then I kept asking for help, and I went to the MIT Mental Health Services. And it took me a couple of months to get back on my feet, but things worked out. I had a great support network here. And my friends from DC and from Seattle reminded me and told me that I had to understand that the fact that 7 people were not available was just circumstantial. And it was not a reflection on myself, on our friendship. And I understood that. And it was true, like all those people were incredibly helpful for me to recover. And I know that they will be very helpful during my time after MIT. The importance of these support networks, right? Sorry. As tiring as it sounds, I needed to learn something about, I needed to make this thing an opportunity, right? Like I couldn't work in the States, so I needed to explore different careers, so I did. I went to Latin America for my summer internship. I needed to know if I could go back there. I'm moving to Israel for the summer, and I accepted a job offer in Seoul, so that's where I'm going. People ask me, did you plan this? No, I didn't. For someone like me who's a really good long-term planner, this is really hard. I don't really know what I'll be. So as you embark for your summer internships or for your second year, my advice is to create that network, create that support network. Many of you know that I run a lot, and if I go to these 200-mile relay races, it's not for exercise. It is because I go with friends, to make friends, because people around me are amazing, people around you are amazing, and you need to understand that. Andrew Law said in one of our classes that coming to MIT is a humbling experience, because when you come here and you start meeting people, then you become humble. And I couldn't agree more with that. So when I was 13 years old, I wanted to live a life of integrity in a safe place, but I didn't have to have a double life. I learned that sometimes those places do not exist, or sometimes they are not available. So then you have to create them. So I encourage you to create those safe places, and you can do them through support networks. I know that rejection hurts. It hurts a lot. But when you have a support network, then you have a framework where you can realize, like, is this really bad or not, right? I just want to pass you the advice that my mom told me. All of you are really, really lucky, because all of you are very smart. So use that, be smart, ask for help, offer help. We're here for each other. I mean, I'm here for you, because most of you, like people here that I can see all their faces, were for me when I needed it the most. Thank you.